Well, it's not often you get a 20-minute game, but they did. Hi, Sebastian. This is Vision Dial, the road to MSI, where I watch all the playoff series from all the 12 regions that are participating in MSI. Yeah, all of them, including that one and this one here, where we've got Gigabyte Marines versus Team Secret. Gigabyte Marines 3-0 Team Secret in very decisive fashion. Really good. Now, prefacing this, I say that I'm going to watch all the playoff series, and I will, but for the sake of MSI, I'm trying to watch all the relevant ones before MSI happens. So the third place match, that is Cerberus versus Team Secret, I will not watch until I have the time or after MSI has already started as a bonus video. So I'm going to be skipping that one entirely just for the sake of scheduling things. That being said, let's get on with this. I always love watching Vietnam. They're so much fun, super extra. They have like the greatest intros to all of their games. um, and honestly are just a lot of fun to watch. Even this one, like stops are fun to watch because they're like super unique. We got two Karthus games, and none of them were the same composition. It's so good. So good. I think it's weird that in this series that jungle priority was on the back burner. And not because like a different role had a priority to it. I think it's just that they were being dynamic with it, and I appreciate that. It shows a comprehension to understand why things the way like not that the other teams, all of the other professional teams don't understand why certain things are prioritized, but I think it has a deeper understanding of how the meta works vis-a-vis how the other team works, and it was pretty good. um, I have no complaints about that. Team Secret has a very solid understanding of how to play early game, how to absorb pressure, apply pressure, and punish. um, very pleased to see that. I think that their mid to late game and late game playing suffers a little bit, but that might be by the fact that like Gigabyte Marines would always solidify a good lead and balloon it by the time that the late game arrived. So I don't think Team Secret knew how to play against very clean and controlled play that the Marines brought. Um, is it Gigabyte Marines or GAM Esports? It's really hard. I'm just gonna like swap, like go back and forth between the two. So a couple of things though is that both of these teams have an over aggression problem where they'll play very far forward, oftentimes with or without vision, and stay regardless of the information they know, and then get caught out, and then it just kind of halts momentum for a bit. It wasn't felt too much in this series, but given international play, teams don't give away that much or don't let that kind of thing happen all too often. uh, I don't expect um, mess ups like that to come off unnoticed in terms of the tempo of the game, because those are they're tempo killers, right? If you were over like out of position and over aggressive, and then you get caught and killed, then that kills the tempo for your team and allows the enemy team to reestablish control. It's just the fact, and both of these teams did that. Uh, I think that vision wise, it's kind of all over the place. There are moments where they're very clean, like very solid vision, and other moments where it's just kind of erratic. But that might be also, again, the nature of how the Marines play, or the Gigabyte Marines play super far forward. I don't. It might be just like clean it up and be a little bit more consistent. Is probably my only nitpick, because it's not like early game is fine, mid game and when they're trying to set up for neutral objectives it's fine. And that's the other thing. Neutral objectives is a weak spot here for both of these teams. And I think it's because they have a better understanding of how to approach leads or get leads through ganking and jungle pressure as opposed to the actual neutral objectives. The neutral objectives felt like they were irrelevant for all of these games. Uh, like even the last game, which was like a 20-minute game, they had Herald the entire time. It didn't feel like it mattered that they had Herald. Like they were just gonna push in regardless, and this was just like a cherry on top. That was really annoying for Team Secret to deal with. Going down the line, also, I think that like there was also a big difference in skill across the board from both roles. Gigabyte Marines or GAM Esports have a much stronger lineup, just leaps and bounds stronger. They literally had 2 games in a row, not the same games with Karthus. They, again, very different stylistic compositions every time they have repeat champions, which I appreciate. Uh, they had 2 games of Sanatom Kench, and the bot lane outperformed in the laning phase against a Callista set in one game, and a Jinx Karma in the other one. And honestly, that's just fantastic. It shows that there's a lot of flexibility between these with all these players. And 2 thumbs up. That really helps with international play, especially against European teams, and the Korean against and especially Damwon Kia, who has shown to have equivalent types of flexibility with their champion pools. So fantastic. The one nitpick I have though, in terms of like how they set up compositions and what they play and like their approach to the win conditions, is that they're specifically playing complicated compositions, and that probably has something to do with like how much better they are compared to like Team Secret or any of their opponents. And the fact that they did so with so much confidence makes me think that they're probably going to win the next series. How decisively is uncertain, and that will really determine how I evaluate the region versus everybody else. Because right now, at the rate that I've seen the 2 games, I rate them 4th place. Like, above North America. Yeah. It's just cleaner gameplay overall. It's a little chaotic at some points, and it's very aggressive, but like so is the LPL and a lot of times. And I wouldn't bat an eye if somebody said LPL is like the team that LPL is going to send is the favorites, if not second and competitive. So in the same vein, I wouldn't be surprised if they would be solidly in 4th place, if not competing against whoever I deem thinking is 3rd place. Yeah, because I think I skipped a couple episodes where I was talking about like the floor to ceiling thing, but like it's hard to tell for some regions who only have like 4 teams or 5 teams that are qualifying. Like this used to be a problem for how to evaluate Korea. Like on the one random year or the 2 random years that they didn't 2 random for the 2 years in a row that China won and Korea didn't, and Korea wasn't even in the finals for both of them. It was hard to evaluate how strong they were as a region, because they had only 4 teams that qualified for playoffs, and they played a gauntlet thing. And regardless if it's gauntlet or like traditional tournament style, the smaller your playoff pool is, the harder it is to evaluate how strong the region is. And some people could say, well, just watch the regular season. Look, there's only so much time one person can have. And oftentimes the regular season doesn't translate fully into playoffs. That's why the seeding is there to reflect mostly accurately how the regular season went. So that being said, it's hard to evaluate how good Vietnam is in the same way that it's hard to evaluate Latin America and Russia, and how it used to be for Korea. Now that they've expanded the number of teams that play in playoffs in the tournament format, Korea is a lot easier to evaluate. But like it's the same thing, right? They have very few teams, and it's harder to evaluate long term, right? So the final game will give me a better sense ish. And I would watch the third place game if I have time. I will later, like way after this main part of the series. It's probably a bonus video while MSI is happening during like the downtime. But otherwise, yeah. You guys let me know in the comments down below what you think. Next up, we're going to Turkey for Istanbul Wildcats versus Galatasaray. Yeah. Well, if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.